Chapter 20 of The Doll's House by Rumer Godden. If it were impossible for Birdie to remember that her room was Marchpane's, how could she remember that Apple was now Marchpane's little boy? She forgot all the time, and this, of course, gave Marchpane many opportunities to pounce on her, and Marchpane loved pouncing on Birdie. "She is like a cat with a poor little bird," said Mr. Plantagenet indignantly. "Oh, I hate to see her." And he begged Birdie, "Birdie, do try and remember. Remember that your room is her room. Remember that Apple is her little boy." "You say that," said Birdie. "I have to say it," said Mr. Plantagenet sadly. "I shall never say it," said Birdie. Totty looked at her. "Birdie, do you try and not remember?" she asked. Birdie did not answer. "But she is so cruel to you," said Mr. Plantagenet. "Yes," said Birdie, "but I don't mind. I don't remember it." Totty and Mr. Plantagenet looked at her. "How strange Birdie is," they were both thinking. "She looks as if she had grown lighter," thought Mr. Plantagenet. "And how untidy she is. No wonder Marchpane teases her. She looks as if she had forgotten about her hair and her apron strings and the feather on her hat and her parasol. She looks as if she might fly away. And how bright she looks," thought Mr. Plantagenet, "like someone standing near a candle." "Like a doll in a lit shop window," thought Totty. "Like a doll on a Christmas tree," thought Mr. Plantagenet. "Birdie, do try and remember," urged Totty. "Try and remember not to go in after Apple. We must give him up for the present." "Just for the present," said Totty firmly. "We shall get him back," said Totty. Mr. Plantagenet was too sad to speak. Darna did not even growl, but turned over in his kennel with a sharp little flop. Birdie said nothing, nor did that bright look on her face alter at all. It happened that Mrs. Innisfree gave Emily and Charlotte a musical box. It was a small wooden one painted with kittens and fans, and it was made in Switzerland. When it was wound up, it played music that was the smallest tinkle, delicate and thin. Emily had put it in the doll's house sitting room for Marchpane and Apple to hear, and the sound of it filled the house. "Tinkle, tinkle," played the musical box. It drew Birdie from the kitchen. "What is it? What is it?" asked Birdie. "Oh, how beautiful it is." It seemed to her more beautiful than anything she had ever heard or ever imagined. "It is like the songs I meant my bird to sing, only I didn't know them then. How could I know? I am only a cracker doll. But I know now," said Birdie. "I know now." It drew her from the kitchen across the hall to the closed sitting-room door. Birdie had tried to remember what Totty and Mr. Plantagenet had asked. For 2 whole days she had not followed Apple, nor gone into her bedroom, nor gone near Marchpane. Now, as she stood at the sitting-room door, the tinkling of the musical box delighted her so much that it tinkled in her head, and she could no longer remember what anyone had said. She had no idea of going in, nor of anything else but the music, when suddenly she heard a sound that upset the running of the tinkling and spoilt it. "Oh, hush," said Birdie. Don't. She tried to listen to the music again, but again came that ugly sound. "No," said Birdie. "Hush, hush." But it came again. Suddenly Birdie, as if she had woken up, knew clearly what it was. It was Darna, barking. Prick came the sound. Clearly, in that instant, Birdie had one thought, and only one. That was Darna, thought Birdie clearly. Darna, barking. Something is happening to Apple. Apple is in danger, thought Birdie, and she opened the sitting-room door. Tinkle, 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 tinkle. The sound of the music met her, so much more full and clear near the musical box, that the sound of it knocked against the sound of Darna's barking in her head and confused her. She did not know she had come in. She could not see what was happening to Apple. For Apple was standing on one of the tapestried chairs, which was dragged up near the table, and he was leaning over the lamp with his darning wool wig near the candle flame. There was a strong smell of singeing, and as it was just going to send the whole of Apple up in flames. Marchpane was sitting on the couch, watching him, and smiling her china smile. Tinkle, tinkle went the music box. Dana barked. He barked frantically. "Isn't that Dana?" asked Totty in the kitchen. Marchpane went on watching with her smile. "It is Dana," said Mr. Plantagenet, and he dropped his newspaper. "Emily," said Charlotte suddenly, "something is happening in the doll's house." "Tch," said Emily. She was not liking the doll's house at present. They could hear the musical box. Tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. "Nonsense! What could happen?" asked Emily. "I smell singeing," said Charlotte, sniffing. "Emily, did you light the birthday candle?" Dana barked so loudly that Birdie heard him clearly over the music. "Dana, tinkle, Dana, tinkle," fluttered Birdie, while Marchpane smiled. "What am I to do?" cried Birdie. "Which is it? Is it which?" "P-R-I-C-K, prick," barked Dana. As the candle caught the edge of Apple's fringe, and he screamed, as Totty and Mr. Plantagenet tumbled in at the door, and Emily and Charlotte swung open the doll's house front, the sound of Apple's scream tore the sound of Dana's barking and the tinkling music out of Birdie's head. She had one thought, and she threw herself at the lamp. "Birdie, back, back, back!" cried Mr. Plantagenet. "Birdie, let me!" screamed Totty. "Birdie, you are made of celluloid, remember." "Celluloid?" said Birdie in her light, calm voice, and the lightness of the real candle was in her face. Light as she was, she threw herself between Apple and the lamp, and Apple fell off the chair face downward on the carpet and put out the spark of fire in his wig. There was a flash, a bright light, a white flame, and where Birdie had been, there was no more Birdie, no sign of Birdie at all. Only, sinking gradually down on the carpet beside Apple, floated Birdie's clothes, burning, slowly turning brown and going into holes. Last of all, the fire ran up the pink embroidery cotton of her apron strings, and they waved up in the air as they used to wave on Birdie, and then they were burnt right up. Tinkle, 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 said the musical box. Marchpane smiled.